Stanford University.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Tia Rich, and it's my honor to direct the Stanford Contemplation by Design Summit. Today, we are blessed with the presence of Sister True Dedication and Brother Phap Huu. They join us from Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery, Plum Village in France. They will be sharing their teachings on Zen and the art of saving the planet. Sister True Dedication is a Dharma teacher in Thich Nhat Hanh's community and the editor of Thich Nhat Hanh's new book, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet. Before entering the monastery in 2008 at age 27, she studied at Cambridge University and worked as a journalist for the BBC News in London. In the early years of her monastic training, she assisted Thich Nhat Hanh and Sister Chan Khong in their engaged Buddhist actions for human rights, religious freedom, applied ethics, and ecology. She is a co-founder of the International Wake Up Movement, a community of young meditators who are finding new ways to combine mindfulness and engage Buddhism. She enjoys community building, silence in nature, and when it's appropriate, acting in comedy skits. Brother Phap Huu is a senior teacher in Thich Nhat Hanh's international community and the abbot of the monks community in Plum Village, the practice center founded by Thich Nhat Hanh in Southwest France. Born in Vietnam, he emigrated to Canada as a child. He began training with Thich Nhat Hanh at the age of 13 when he first entered the monastery to become a monk. Thich Nhat Hanh gave him the name Chon Phap Huu, meaning true Dharma friend. For over 10 years, he accompanied Thich Nhat Hanh on his international teaching tours as his attendant and assistant. Today, Brother Phap Huu is deeply committed to building community and continuing Thich Nhat Hanh's legacy, bringing his teachings in particular to business people, families, and young adults. Brother Phap Huu is passionate about basketball, music, and developing new approaches to teamwork, leadership, mentoring, and coaching. Welcome, Brother Phap Huu and Sister True Dedication.
Thank you so much, Tia, and thank you everyone for joining us. We're so happy that you have chosen to spend some of your time with us today, and it's a real honor for us to share with you our practices and some of how we are also living this challenging moment that we're all facing right now. We're very aware that this is a hot time, literally, for the climate, and I'm so grateful to Stanford and to this summit for taking the theme of the earth and ecology together with contemplation. I think our connection with the earth is an essential element of our contemplative practice. The earth needs our contemplation, our presence, and our insight. And what is more urgent at this time than actually really being here for the planet? And I'm sure many of you, your news feeds, perhaps even your emails have started to become flooded with the theme of climate action. And as we bring awareness to that, we may already have a lot of quite overwhelming feelings. There may be a sense of really creeping anxiety that can penetrate every cell of our body. There may be feelings of frustration, even excitement and anticipation ahead of next week's summit in Scotland. And we may also have some sense of powerlessness and despair coming up. And we want to bear witness to all of that. We don't bring some separate self to our contemplative practice. We bring our whole being, including all of the feelings that are coursing through our veins at the moment. So we invite you to bring all of yourself to be present, to be with us this morning or this afternoon, depending on your time zone. It's easy to think that our climate crisis, our nature crisis, or indeed any of the challenges humanity is facing right now, inequality, racial injustice, it's easy to think that these are primarily like problems outside of ourselves that need to be solved only with external action. But the really key element was, as we approach a climate conference, as we approach the kind of radical policies that we need to address these issues, is to remember that whatever is happening, it's a human problem. It's humans who need to give rise to the insight for the solutions, and it's humans that will need to kind of implement and deliver the solutions. So we really need to be the best we can be in our human self. And for us, as longtime Buddhist practitioners, we know that our feelings are something that happen in the body, and insight is something that happens, that arises from our whole being. It's not just an intellectual problem. And so today we'd like to start our session with a really embodied practice of meditation together, to be able to return to ourselves, knowing that who we are in this moment is the ground of how we can respond to the challenges that we face. And each one of us has this capacity that we want to sort of awaken in this session, the capacity to be fully grounded, to be fully alert and aware, and to let ourselves sink into the present moment. So I'd like to invite Brother Phap Huu to guide us in a meditation to really cultivate these qualities as the ground from which we can look deeply together.
So dear friends, I would like to invite all of us to become aware of our posture, how we're sitting, if we are sitting on a cushion or we're sitting on a chair, on a sofa, wherever we may be sitting on, just allow ourselves to sink into the body. If possible, our back upright, but not rigid, but relax. And I would like to invite us to become aware of the sensation that is manifesting in our body. If there's any tension on the shoulders, we can just lift it up and just release the tension. In this very moment, allow yourself to not worry about the past or of the future. There's nothing to do. Let's just enjoy sitting. Become aware of our upper body. Become aware of our lower body. And now I invite us to become mindful of our breath. As we breathe in, just be in touch with the breath. Say, this is my in-breath. Aware of in-breath. And as I breathe out, just become aware of the out-breath. We may like to close our eyes so we can focus a little bit more. Allow ourselves to identify our in-breath. This is in-breath, and this is out-breath. Breathing in, I'm aware that this is my in-breath. Breathing out, I am aware that this is my out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. If our breath is short, allow it to be short. If our breath is long, allow it to be long. We don't have to force the breath. The breath is just happening. It is present. As long as we are still alive, we are always breathing. And in this very moment, we become in touch with the breath. We allow the breath to bring the mind home to the present moment in this body. Breathing in, I'm in touch with my in-breath. Breathing out, I know this is the out-breath. In, out. And as I breathe in, I develop my concentration. I follow my in-breath from the beginning to the end, taking refuge in the breath. And as I breathe out, I follow my out-breath from the beginning to the end. I take refuge in my out-breath. In-breath, follow from the beginning to the end. And out-breath, I am one with the out-breath from the beginning to the end. As I breathe in, now I bring a little attention to my body, from my face, my neck, my shoulders, my upper body, my lower body. And with my out breath, if there's any tension, I just relax the muscles in my face, shoulders, arms, upper body, lower body. Breathing in, becoming aware of the body. Breathing out, I relax my body. In breath, aware of body. Out breath, I relax my body. As we breathe in, we become in touch with life around us and inside of us. As we breathe out, we are full of life inside of us and all around us. The oxygen we breathe, we are connected to nature, the trees, the freshness of life that is present. In this moment, we allow ourselves to be present, allow ourselves to be in touch with that freshness inside of us. Each and every one of us, we have freshness, and we just need to nourish that freshness more in our daily life. As humans, we are also flowers in the garden of humanity. So let us be in touch with this refreshing energy of breath, of life, inside of us and around us. Breathing in, I am in touch with nature, the flower, the trees. Breathing out, I nourish my freshness inside of me. In touch with the beautiful elements. Out, I nourish my freshness. I may allow myself to smile. A smile is also like a flower that we can offer to ourselves in this very moment. Allowing ourselves to be alive, allowing ourselves to be in touch with the wonders of life. In touch with the wonders of life. Out, I smile. Breathing in, I can see the solidity of Mother Earth, the image of the mountains. So beautiful, so solid, so firm. Breathing out, I nourish my solidity that is inside of me. This solidity allows us to dwell in the present moment, allows us to not be caught in the future or pulled into the past. We ground ourselves in this very moment. Breathing in the image of a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid and grounded in the present moment, in my breath, in my body. Breathing in, I allow myself to see the refreshing element of water, of a still lake. When the still lake is present, it reflects everything that comes and goes. The clouds that pass by, the trees, the birds. The still lake is like our still mind. We allow ourselves to generate stillness inside of us, which will then be translated to stillness all around us. Breathing in touch with the calm lake, a calm mind. Breathing out, there is clarity in this very moment. Clarity of the breath, clarity of my body, clarity of my presence, that I allow myself to be here. In touch with stillness inside of me. Out. I enjoy this stillness. In touch with stillness. Out. In touch with the calm. Breathing in, now I invite us to see space, openness. We all need space in our hearts so that we can continue to understand, continue to love. And in space, we can be in touch with freedom in us and around us, not caught in a notion. This immense space we allow to generate from within, we can be in touch with it also all around us. When we have space inside of us, we allow ourselves to be more present for our loved ones. We allow ourselves to be more present for the situation. And with space, freedom can be born, and we can be more clear, more present. Breathing in, I'm in touch with space inside of me, around me. Breathing out, I nourish the element of freedom inside of me. Breathing in, I am present. Breathing out, I am free to be alive, free to be here in this very moment. Breathing in, I can feel the refreshing breath entering into my body, nourishing all the cells in my body. Breathing out, I feel so alive. In, so refreshed by the in-breath. Breathing out, I feel alive. Just allow yourself some moments of recognizing the breath, enjoying this stillness, this quiet that we have generated together globally in this very moment. All of us practicing mindful breathing, awareness of breath, awareness of body, awareness of the elements of freshness, stability, clarity, and space, freedom. I listen. This wonderful sound of the bell guides me home to the present moment. I listen. This wonderful sound of the bell brings me home to the here and the now. Dear friends, thank you so much for practicing mindful breathing with us over here in Plum Village, France. I feel just connected knowing that everyone allow themselves to turn inwards, to come back to the breath, come back to the body, allowing themselves to dwell in the present moment.
Thank you, Brother Phap Huu. Thank you, everybody who's joining us online. It would be wonderful if we just take a moment to really feel this connection more concretely. You'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a button that says Q&A. And it would be lovely if you want to write in there where you're joining us from. So I think you probably submit a question. And you just say where you're joining us from, which country, which part of Stanford. Are you in a dorm room? Are you in a library? Are you in a coffee shop? It would be lovely. We can't see you, so it would be lovely to feel you. So wonderful. Please just type in the Q&A box so we can really connect to you. Wonderful. Ocean, beach, mountain, valley, Lake Tahoe, wonderful, wonderful. Seattle, wow, Palo Alto, it's coming fast. So I hope you can all enjoy it. And someone from Vietnam is also joining. We're so happy this is a public event, so we get to have really a global community here with us. Wonderful. Oregon, Connecticut, Texas, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Virginia, Germany,
India,
New York, Santa Monica, brilliant. New Delhi, wonderful.
San Jose,
New Mexico, Ireland, lovely. This is so wonderful. Happy to see you all and to know that we've been breathing together across the planet. It's always very powerful to do these live meditations together. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wonderful to see. So we're here today to share a little bit about some of the content that's in this wonderful book, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet, that came out just a few weeks ago. And it's a very powerful book of teachings, and we hope today to bring it to life for you a bit as best we can. And, when we see the words Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet, I think for us, there's a certain humor in this title. Is it even possible to be Zen while helping to protect our beautiful planet and all the species and communities, diverse communities who live on our planet? And we're very lucky, and we belong to our teacher Thich Nhat Hanh's Zen lineage. And I think the Buddhist tradition of Zen, it brings so many qualities with us, with it that can give us a kind of simplicity, a clarity, an authenticity. It's very grounded. Zen practice is very simple. It's as simple as listening to the bell, as following our breathing, being in touch with the tree along our path. Zen is uncomplicated. And I think that's one of the kind of these human qualities are what we want to bring to our efforts to be the best we can for one another and for the earth. The word Zen also means stillness, to really sit in stillness. And we've had a chance to cultivate that energy of presence and stillness this morning. And in Zen, there's also a certain courage to be able to cut through I have to choose my words here. Cut through the difficulties, the weeds and the forest, to really get to the heart of the matter. Mm. And the title also says the art of saving the planet. And I think there's also a challenge in that for all of us. There is something creative, something regenerative, a way of living and a way of being that has a certain artistry to us that we all want to develop and to cultivate. And when we think, and I think in a way this book is really a Buddhist contribution to the climate crisis. And I think Buddhism has two main things to offer. On the one hand, is a way of living, an awakened way of living, in which we can offer our full presence to the problems that we face, to the people around us, and to the wonderful natural world that we are lucky enough to manifest within. And actually, I think presence is quite a scarce resource in our time. How often are we really able to be fully present for ourselves and what we're feeling? How often are we able to be fully present for the moment when we wake up in the morning, for the miracle of a cup of tea or coffee in our hands, for the miracle of the autumn leaves or the blue sky, or simply the presence of our friends? And modern life has plenty of things that get in the way. Of course, there are devices, that's one thing that makes it hard to be fully present. But also our habit maybe of running into the future and always trying to solve things outside of ourselves. And so this art of being present, what helps us be present is what we would call the energy of mindfulness. And we may think that mindfulness is something that we need to do. It's kind of like a coping mechanism for our life. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes of Headspace or another app at a certain point in our day. And we may have a feeling, oh, I've done my mindfulness for today, and now I get on with my life and I live as normal. And mindfulness, in our understanding, is something much more all-encompassing and penetrating. It penetrates every aspect of our life. It's our quality of being really present in our body and in whatever is happening for us, going on, whatever's going on inside and whatever's going on around us. And for us, we know that we're in the present moment, and we are able to generate this quality of presence by following our breathing. Our breathing is the highway, it is the bridge, it is the gateway to enter the present moment. And it is essential for the kind of insight and awakening that we want to cultivate. Because Buddhism is not just, or meditation is not just a kind of opiate to feel a bit better and then live life as we were doing before. Our meditation practice should go much deeper, which is to have the kind of quality of presence that can lead to insight and a change in how we live in the world and how we see the world. So it's not just a quick fix, but it's more radical, and literally radical. We're looking for change at the root. I think the origin of the word radical is transformation at the root. And a theme at the moment is to uproot the system. I think that's Greta Thunberg's hashtag at the moment. And I think our meditative practice should be uprooting our conventional ways of seeing things, to open our mind, to transform our habits much more deeply. And in the course of the next few days, we'll be having a few more sessions tomorrow and for the next 3 days, where we will go deeper into some daily mindfulness practices that we really want to transmit to you as kind of skills to help us in our daily life. And we will be looking at eating meditation and the miracle of tangerine meditation. We'll be looking at how to handle our strong emotions, and also the practice of walking meditation. And for us, we are really seeking to create islands of peace in our daily life. Mindfulness shouldn't feel separate from what we're normally getting on with. So the challenge, the art, is to choose those moments in our day when we really commit to ourselves to really cultivate our quality of presence. To really take time, if we have, for example, a glass of water, to take time to look into water, for example, and have a deep breath before we drink, to really see that there are mountains and rivers, waterfalls, clouds, right, just simply in a glass of water. And you may be in a library studying before an exam. You may have a paper to submit that is late. You may have just been jogging or doing exercise and you really want to refresh yourself. And just taking a few breaths to really encounter the water before we drink the water is a moment to make the water more real, to make yourself more present, and to transform the simple moment of drinking water into a very deep moment where we are fully alive, fully participating in the miracle of being alive, of having this wonderful element to drink. And we know how precious water is on this planet. We know there are those who don't have enough water. We know there are those whose water is polluted, especially the most vulnerable communities in our countries, on the planet. And drinking our water in this way, we want to do the best we can with our life to be kind of worthy of having such beautiful, sparkling, simple water to drink, recognizing the miracle in this very, very simple but wondrous glass of water. So we take a moment in silence just to breathe in and out before we drink the water. And then we know we're made of waterfalls, clouds, oceans. And we can choose many moments like this in our day. For me, I used to practice with the water in the newsroom. We had a water cooler about 12 steps from my desk, and I used to enjoy every mindful step to the water cooler. And then I like to enjoy a couple of deep breaths before I would fill my cup and enjoy drinking water. Sometimes we say that we want to land into the present moment, to sink into the present moment, to let the present moment have more of us. And when you're in the present moment, you know you're there. You know that all our senses are alert. The eyes, the sound, the touch. And when we're directly with our five senses, we know we're fully established in the here and the now. When we're full of worries, we're sort of dragged away by the future. And when we are full of regret about everything that's been happening recently, we may be dragged by the past. And the challenge is to really open up this window onto the present moment, to give it our full attention, our full awareness, all of our senses, and then using our connection with our in-breath and our out-breath to really arrive. Sometimes when we sit down before we're about to eat, that's a wonderful moment to really arrive and connect to our breathing and all our senses. Or perhaps sitting on a bench in the park, or sitting by the beach for those of us who are near the beach. We've recently been engaged in quite a lot of discussions around the climate crisis, and there are those who said to us, yeah, but you're talking too much about the present moment. And all of us know that the whole crisis of humanity right now is because we're too much in the present and we're not planning enough for the future. So you better tone down your present moment message a bit, because it's not what the world needs. And it was wonderful to have this challenge, but we had quite a good response, a strong response, which is there's a difference between being fully present in the moment, grounded and alert, really the best of ourselves, to offer a true quality of presence to the people we are with in that moment, to the problems that we face, to really be there, to really hear and see what's going on. That's the kind of presence that we're talking about. But some of us are actually, swept away in the present. We may be lost in our work and projects, or we may be kind of losing ourselves maybe in the way that we're consuming, perhaps with streaming services, social media, or news. It's very easy to get caught and lost in these things, and we're no longer really there for our body, for our mind, for all of our senses, and for life and the world in this moment. So this is the aspect of Buddhism where we really speak to the way we live, the art of living in such a way that can be sustainable for ourselves as humans and for our planet, that we're really there to take care of what is going on. And it's when we're in the present moment, and only when we're in the present moment, that we have a chance to truly nourish ourselves with the wonders, like a glass of water or a tree or the sunset, and also to take care of our painful feelings. Because I think the reality for many of us is that we're driven, our life is run by some of the painful feelings that we're feeling deep inside, and we don't have the energy or the presence to really take care of those feelings. And this comes to the kind of second aspect that Buddhism can really help us with, which is we offer insights. We offer deep teachings that can address our feelings of fear, despair, and anxiety at the root. I think for many of us, there may be a palpable sense of anxiety at the moment about the direction our planet is going in, the direction our civilization is going in. And as practitioners with the energy of mindfulness, we have the courage to be present for these feelings. And first of all, we want to really notice where these feelings might be in our body. We take care of our feelings in the monastery. We always say our feelings aren't only like in the mind; they're sort of in our heart and in our whole body. So we really want to be there and just notice where our anxiety might be in the body. We may feel it more in our chest, or perhaps even like in our guts. Or we may experience it as a kind of mental restlessness. We can even feel the energy of restlessness sometimes in our hands. That's why the practice of sitting meditation and relaxing the hands can be so powerful. So as part of our practice, we want to be with the feelings in our body, to accompany them, to not let our anxiety, our fear, our despair, or even our sense of hopelessness be alone. We want to accompany it with the energy of mindfulness. With an in-breath and with an out-breath. We're really there for ourselves and for the feelings that are showing up. And with our practice, we go even further with what we call deep looking, cultivating insight. And for us in our tradition, and a lot in this book, you can discover about what we call the insight of interbeing. Some of our despair and some of our hopelessness arises because we feel we are just a small me faced with an impossible situation. And with the insight of interbeing, which is also the insight of science and evolution, we know that we are much more than this body. We're not limited to this body. In this very moment, we are made of the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the oceans that are there. We're made of the people we love, the people around us. We're made of our ancestors and many millions of years of evolution. And interbeing is an insight that we can apply across time and across space to realize our deep interconnection, our oneness with all that is. And it is a profound insight that can help us embrace at the root these feelings of powerlessness, of being small, of not being able to do anything. Because when we realize that we're much more than this body, we also realize that everything we do is also interconnected to everything else, and that even the smallest action kind of resonates without limit. And this insight of interbeing, we will go deeper in the coming days into this practice, but we can cultivate it while we eat, while we walk, while we look deeply into our body and feelings. And it enables us to embrace head on the feelings of fear that may be running our life. We may fear for ourselves, for other species, for the planet. And with the courage of our meditation practice, our mindfulness, and in the spirit of the teachings of Buddhism, we shouldn't be afraid of our fear. We have the courage to sit with it, to be with it, to look it in the eyes. And our teacher has even given a teaching. Thich Nhat Hanh has shared with us that it is even possible to contemplate the end of our civilization and to find a way to be at peace with the absolute worst case scenario. Because he says, if we can't be at peace with the worst case scenario, we won't have the freedom to act now. We'll be controlled by our fear, paralyzed by our fear and panic. And so part of the miracle of Zen, the insight of Zen in this book, is to be able to really cut to the root of our fear, to embrace that maybe, the fact that maybe we won't make it, but that means we are completely free in this moment to give it the best we've got. We don't make it conditional on succeeding. Because as soon as we make our contributions and our efforts conditional on something, we've kind of lost the game. We can no longer be free and invest our whole heart in it. We can invest our heart unconditionally, knowing that wherever love is flowing, it will kind of resonate without limit, and that all future moments are made of this moment, and doing our best in this moment is what we are called to do. So I would like to invite Brother Phap Huu to invite a sound of the bell. What I have shared may have already brought up some feelings in our body and mind, and we can take a moment to come back to our breathing, to our body. And on an in-breath, really extending our awareness to encounter our whole body and any tension that may have arisen. And on an out-breath, to soften that tension. In, I'm aware I have a body. Breathing out, I smile to my body. And we've been sitting here for a while now, about 45 minutes, so we may like to move our body a bit. I wonder if Brother Phap Huu would like to guide some little
Movements.
body movements.
So, Sister True Dedication, can you be the model then?
Okay.
Okay. Dear friends, if we can just allow ourselves to stand up, first undo our legs if we're sitting on the ground, move our hands, our wrists, feel our shoulders, even our face.
It's very easy if you don't have hair, you can massage your whole head.
Yeah, for us bald ones, we can massage our head. It's good to listen and to get the insight from different friends around the world, but it's also good to always have a space to come back to the body. So we're going to allow ourselves to stand up and do some mindful movement to become one with the body again. And then we'll sit back down for a little bit more sharings, and then we'll have a session of question and answers where we have received some of your questions and where we would like to offer our experience, our input on the questions that you have asked. So if Sister, I allow you to stand up. There we go.
Okay.
So dear friends, I just want to, Sister, just as we breathe in, we're going to move our hands forward to shoulder width and just stretch out a little bit, move the fingers, and then breathing out, release, relax. So really give your attention to this movement. So breathing in, raise the arm, shoulder, stretch out. Breathing out. In with the arms, with the hands, wiggling the fingers out. With the next movement, we'll bring our arms all the way up to the sky, breathing in, stretching our whole body. You can feel the stretch in the spine. We can move to the right, move to the left. One more time, like trees waving with the winds, breathing in, breathing out. And breathing in, reach up, and breathing out. We're gonna touch to the ground if we can, as far as we can go. And just allow ourselves to stay for a few moments, a few breaths, be in touch with the stretch. And breathing in, I raise myself and allow my two hands to come to my shoulders. We're gonna bloom like a flower. Breathing in, open the whole upper body with this upper stretch. Breathing out, release any of the tension. In, open our whole arm, our whole space. Out. One more time, breathing in. Feel the stretch, feel the body. Breathing out. Release. And then we can bring our hands together. We'll just do a few circles with our arms. Breathing in, drawing a circle, feeling that stretch. Breathing out, relax. Two more time, in and out. Give yourself one more time. Feel the stretch, feel alive with each movement. Wow, so wonderful. Now backwards, reverse, breathing in. In, out, release. One more time, feel this movement, feel how it is to be able to just be alive and move our body. Okay, just allow ourselves a few moments. We can shake our bodies. And then give yourself some space and time to sit back down. Okay. So dear friends, before we move into the Q&A, I'd just like to spend a few moments to share about some of the practice and elements that we use as practitioners so that we can cope with our aspiration, our direction, and then the difficulties that we face. And sometimes it can lead to burnout. It can lead to losing confidence in our own self, losing confidence in our community, losing confidence in the direction that we are going as human species. And this, in meditation, we always look at every situation as an opportunity to see and to understand more clearly. So we have a notion that success and failure are opposites, or happiness and suffering are opposites. But when we allow ourselves to come back to the present moment and to truly ask the question, why do I feel this way? That is a meditation. We allow ourselves to really have a conversation with ourselves. So we are made of so many different elements. And in our spiritual practice as practitioners, and you don't have to be a monk or a nun that shaves your head and adorn yourself with this brown robe to feel like a spiritual practitioner. But in this book, our teachers speak about 3 characteristics that we all have inside of us. And the first characteristic is the meditation practitioner, the yogi, the one who knows how to be still, the one who knows how to not be blown away by the storm that manifests in our daily life. And this is true. We all have a spiritual dimension inside of us. We don't have to be religious to be spiritual. That's one thing that I have discovered, even though I'm a monk and I can call myself a Buddhist, but I'm not attached to the word Buddhism, because I have heard my teacher share on so many occasions that as long as you are breathing, your breath can become your spiritual companion. And that was very powerful for me. As long as I know that I can be in touch and aware of my breath, that is always an opportunity for me to be in this present moment, to not be swept away by my fears or my anxiety or even my craving, my desires. So we know that living in our society now, it was so fast paced and it pushes us to run after objects of happiness. But in Zen, we know that happiness doesn't exactly lies outside, but there are so many wonderful conditions that are already present. We have a chance to meditate on the end of our civilization, which our sister has offered. But in Buddhism and in our meditation, we also have to know how to recognize the goodness of life, the well-being, the beauty of life that is around us. When we become aware that every morning you wake up, you have 24 brand new hours before you, that's a gift. You have a chance to live. You have a chance to offer. By being alive is also a contribution. And when we know that we have this 24 brand new hours and we don't want to take it for granted, that gives us insight. We have a chance to live a way that is more meaningful. So each and every one of us, we can come back and nourish this meditation quality, this meditator, this yogi, this person who has the ability to be present, to be still. And in one of the meditation that we contemplated, which is solidity, this is such a crucial element, because we are all friends of someone, or we are someone who people can take refuge in us. And when we are a lover and we are someone who is loved, what we want to offer to them is our true presence. I like the word, we want to give them a present, and we think we have to buy a wonderful gift to share our love. But in friendship, we know that to be present, to really be there for him or for her, is one of the greatest gifts that we can offer. I think in the pandemic, we were in touch with also loneliness, being isolated from everyone. And we know the power of presence gives us life, gives us energy, gives us an opportunity to feel more connected, to not feel alone. And I think this is a very important quality that we all can nourish inside of us. So it's being able to be present, to have that mountain. Sometimes we have shared, I'm the abbot of our community, and I have many wonderful brothers and sisters in my community. At this very moment in Plum Village, we have around 160 monks and nuns living together. And we have an aspiration to be more mindful and to be cultivating loving kindness. But nevertheless, we are very human. So we also have suffering. We also have difficulties. We have our ups and downs that we encounter. And sometimes it's ups and downs with each other through relationship. And to know that I can be present to really hear what he or she is going through already is a relief for that person. Because that person feels heard. That person feels understood. And you know the power of love, the power of being understood transcend this feeling of disconnection. So when we practice meditation, it enhances our ability to be present. It sounds simple, but it takes a lot of training, you can develop it for it to be a habit. And that's why in Plum Village Dharma doors, our practice, mindful breathing is our foundation of meditation. Every time we want to come back to ourselves, we come back to the breath. In our monastery, we have a lot of reminders for us to come back to the breath. And this is something that I can invite you to cultivate in your daily life. You choose an object, a sound, an image, a tree, or something that reminds you to come back and to connect to your breath at least 3 times a day. Let's start with that. Let's not be too ambitious. Let's be very honest with ourselves and allow ourselves, each time you walk by that tree on your way to a class or on your way back to your dorm or on your way to the office, when you see that tree, you said, that is a bell of mindfulness for me to come back to my breath. And you cultivate this habit, you cultivate this capacity to be present. And it will then translate into your daily life. So there are moments when we do need to curate our way of being so that we can generate that energy in us. But at the same time, when you have created this habit, then you will be able to manifest this mindfulness of presence in any situation, in meetings, in class, in a difficult conversation, to not lose our stability. And then because we are solid, we can allow clarity to also be present. Sometimes the situation is so toxic, we know that I need to excuse myself. I find a skillful means to take care of myself. That is also mindfulness. We can become aware of how we are nourishing ourselves, how we are feeding our greed, our anger, our jealousy. Mindfulness allows us to see how we are living our life that cultivates different elements in us. The second element is we have a creativity side, the artist. We're all artists. Whether you like it or not, you may not be a musician, a painter, but the mind is an artist. The way we project our view, we are creating the world. So it is also very important to become aware of how we are nourishing our way of thinking, our views. And then on the daily life, we have to have joy in our way of being. Do we allow ourselves, like our sister has mentioned, to really enjoy the cup of tea or the cup of coffee that we drink every day that gives us the kick of the day? Or do we see it as just a means of life, a means of way to just get through the day? Do we allow ourselves to be alive, to be in touch with the beach, the ocean, the mountains? Are we nourishing ourselves enough? I in Plum Village, once a year, pre-pandemic, we always have the summer retreat, and we allow children to come and practice with us. And we curate a children's program, and it's mainly just playing with them, but without electronics and without TV, but to create ways for them to experience nature, to go on hike. We have a happy farm, get their hands in the dirt, see where where the French fries come from, where the ketchup is from these plants, these vegetables. And when I am in touch with a child, I see their freshness, just their smile, just their way of life is so full of life. And I remember, wow, I was once like that too. What happened? What happened to myself? Why am I so grumpy now? Why am I so uncentered, And so we also recognize that we have this freshness that needs to be cultivated. When you have freshness, you have openness. The ones who you are around, you can offer that freshness. Sometimes I have a very bad day. Yes, even in the monastery, we don't just sit and look at trees and at the wall all day. We have a lot of projects, and we have a lot of encounters and also difficulties. And some days I have really bad days, and I want to look for someone that I want to be, to get their nourishment, their freshness. And they don't need to do anything. And I just want to be in their presence so that I can be reminded of that freshness that is also alive in me. And we know that the earth, our Mother Earth, she's such a beautiful creator and artist. She has manifested so many beauties in life. And we also just have to allow ourselves to be present for those beauty, to nourish the freshness inside of us. And knowing that your freshness can also be a contribution to your community, your loved ones, your partner, your brother, your sister, your friends. And the third element is the warrior. We all have aspiration. We all have a dream that we would like to establish and to give to the world, to give to our loved ones. And this aspiration, we can always reflect and to look into how is our life direction, our way of life contributing to our deepest aspiration. We have daily concerns that we have to take care of. But then at the same time, we have some very deep aspiration, and meditation is to have time to ask those questions. Do I have enough love inside of me? Am I compassionate enough? Do I have understanding? Am I able to be more inclusive? I can have the aspiration to not discriminate, but I can recognize in my daily life, this discriminative mind does manifest. How do I take care of take care of my mind so it can fulfill my aspiration? And this warrior side, this side of wanting to do, if we have clarity, mindfulness, our action will be the purest action from the deepest aspiration. And in Buddhism, our thoughts is an action. What we say, how we communicate is also an action. And then what we do in our daily life, how we give, our projects, what we create, what we help move forward for communities, all of these are our actions, and they all have our signature. But look into our daily life, the way you drink your cup of tea, the way you open the door, the way you even put on your shoes, that is action, and that carries your message, that carries your energy. My first time when I arrived in Plum Village, I was very young. I didn't know much about Buddhism. I was actually very skeptical because I grew up in a more traditional Buddhism, and it was a lot of praying, and I didn't really understand why I have to pray so much. But when I came to Plum Village and I saw our teachers and Master Thich Nhat Hanh, and I just saw the way he walked, and I felt that is peace. That he doesn't need to communicate, I am walking for peace. I just saw that way of moving, that way of presence is the embodiment of peace. So we can also see that our aspiration and our actions can very much go hand in hand. And our meditation practice can enhance our presence and ask the questions again. What is our aspiration? Are we nourishing our aspiration? Are we taking care of our creativity, our freshness? Are we taking care of our presence? Are we taking care of our loved ones? Sometimes we have projects, but we forget about the people that are with us. And I've fell victim to that also. I've sometimes put my own projects before just the ones who are around me, my community. So in this book that you can find, there are these questions also that invites us to reflect on how we live our life, so that it is already an impact to how we would like to be more sustainable. And when we talk about Zen, we also talk about the sustainability of ourselves, so we don't burn out by our own despair, our own anger, and our own ambition. Thank you, dear friends.
I'm going to join for a moment, as there are two questions that are not visible to you. The first one is very concrete. You had wisely invited us to come back to our breath 3 times a day. And someone asks, how long do you advise one should allow oneself to sit and be thinking before coming into mindful movement. And it was notable that after about 45 minutes, you guided us and invited us back into our bodies.
I would like to start off with sharing to allow ourselves. So we have to be creative in our daily life. How much time we allow ourselves to come back to the breath and to be with the breath. And we can start off with the 3 breaths, but if we want to advance a little bit more, allow ourselves 10 minutes per day. Especially we like to, our teacher in one of a retreat for family members, he encouraged every family member to have a breathing room or a breathing corner in our household. So in today's modern architect, we have dining halls, study rooms, and bedrooms, but we need also a breathing room. We need a place to come inwards. So my own experience on days that I'm more centered, I can be more with the breath because my mind can be more concentrated. And there's gonna be days when you're more engaged and you're more active. And we have also some principles in our own practice especially when we're very angry or we're very frustrated. We bring our practice to walking meditation. It's another practice. It's more in the body because sometimes when we allow ourselves to be too still and we're not yet capable of being at peace with the breath, because then the mind can become very engaged and very busy. It's very difficult to be with the breath. So we would be with the body more. So we will share about walking meditation on Saturday. So if you're interested, please join us for that. But allow yourself moments of Zen, moments of breath within the day. So, in our monastery, every time we hear the bell, that's our chance to come back to the breath for at least 3 times. And then we always begin our day with sitting meditation, and then we end our day with sitting meditation. And for us, we found the rhythm of 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And then we would do slow walking meditation or some body movement and into the next practice. So for us, I think what is suitable for us is 30 minutes to 45 minutes. That is enough time of concentration for us to develop and cultivate this quality of breath. Yes, thank you.
Another question is, you illuminated the healing power of presence and illuminated how disconnectedness can be healed, and that when disconnectedness is healed, there is more stewardship and care toward the planet and towards each other. We're still having some invitation from the participants for more teachings around right livelihood and how, in addition to presence and healing disconnectedness, what right livelihood can offer in contributing to saving our planet.
Thank you for that. Actually, I think right livelihood is a very important question. So I'm grateful for those who have raised this. As some of you may know, in Buddhism, right livelihood is one element of what we call the Eightfold Path. So to be able to earn our living in such a way that we are not harming ourselves or the planet, that's the sort of essence of the practice of right livelihood. There's the ideal, and then there's the reality that many of us live. So this is where this practice becomes very deep. And it's a journey of deep looking for each one of us. On the one hand, how can we follow our heart? On the other hand, how can we embrace challenge and difficulty to actually put our good intentions into difficult spaces and difficult places where service is needed, where action is needed? So right livelihood doesn't just only mean being in the simplest possible spot. We may even think that the monastery is the simplest possible spot, but it's not entirely true, just for the record. But so there's a challenge to, so it's where would I like to be to enact change, and where would be meaningful for me to be, and how can I enact that change without destroying my own body and mind in the process? So there's a practice for us in terms of the atmosphere at work. Are we in a toxic workplace? Or are we in a healthy workplace? And actually, the work may look like it's right livelihood. It could be social work, but perhaps that work is underpaid, under-resourced, badly organized, and highly stressful. And if we're destroying our own body and mind and our co-workers' body and mind by working in that environment, then the practice of right livelihood hasn't been fully realized, because it actually may be ultimately a toxic environment for those working there, even though the end looks good. And in Buddhism, we always talk about the interbeing between the means and the ends. That a right livelihood means that the day itself should feel fulfilling and meaningful. We should be able to be true to ourselves, and being able to live in truth in our daily work. And I had my own challenges with this in the newsroom, which is when I finally realized that it wasn't for me, right livelihood. But it doesn't mean that for others, the newsroom may be a place where they can practice right livelihood, and where we also need good people in newsrooms. We need good people in some really difficult spots on earth. And so this question becomes very, very deep. We don't demonize certain professions. In Buddhism, we sometimes say that, and our teacher has taught us, that we should never consider anyone the enemy. So in our current situation, that's quite interesting, because it means that even the CEO of an oil company, as practitioners, as monastics, we don't have the right to see them as our enemy. They are human beings. They have a massive ethical responsibility, and our challenge is to keep our heart open to be able to try to find a way for their seeds of compassion, responsibility, and ethics to be awakened right in the spot where they are. So the message of our teachers, Buddhism, is very radical, that we are students of that path. We are trying to be loyal to our teacher's vision, that we cannot demonize even those livelihoods that seem the most toxic, we cannot demonize the people in those livelihoods even when those livelihoods are the wrong livelihood. But we want to try and help those people to wake up, to transform their context with their presence there, to be able to really make radical change in our society and in our systems. I hope that goes some way, but this is a deep conversation. It could go on a long time.
And it's very central to what people are asking about. And so to take that one step further in your work in Engaged Buddhism, speak to any examples of presence being offered to people in pivotal positions with respect to the planet's well-being.
So we're in the heart of this work at the moment. Last week, we had a chance to be present at a gathering in Edinburgh of various thought leaders and activists, business leaders, and also pioneers in the climate sphere, I think it's now called. So there are people such as Christiana Figueres, the wonderful founder of the Paris Climate Agreement, or the progenitor of the Paris Climate Agreement, who is a member of our community. She practices in our tradition, and we support her and her network spiritually. And last week we had a chance to be with this very exciting group of people at a conference organized by TED, as in TED Talks, ahead of the COP26 meeting next week. And that was a powerful experience for us because in the same room, we had youth activists who are very close to our heart. We had business leaders. We had leading scientists, Johan Rockström and many other leading scientists were also present. We had business leaders and financiers. And we also had the CEO of Shell and other oil company financiers. So last week, we really had a chance to cultivate our inner mountain, our inner space, to really be present for these different demographics that were sometimes in the same room, trying everyone with the same aspiration to try to help, and everyone challenging one another to go further. And we can imagine the bodies that were present that were maybe not going further and fast enough. Definitely some of the financiers, business people, and oil barons. So for us, here's the thing. Everyone in this problem is human, and it's really important to not forget this. Our first responsibility is to offer our presence and our listening in such a way that enables all of these groups to be really there for themselves and for what's going on, so that they at least had a chance to show up with the best of themselves. So that was really our first role. We provided listening in many different settings, formal and informal. And listening is also a scarce resource. It's a renewable resource, but it's also a scarce resource. And what we realized that in many settings, and also in the COP meeting next week, listening will be a very, very precious resource that will need to be brought. And we know already from Paris in 2015 that listening was deep listening was one of what Christiana Figueres called the most essential skills that was taking place in that conference. And so we're offering presence, allowing people to show up, offering listening, and offering with our own heartfelt reflection, support for those people and for their seeds of wisdom, awakening, and compassion, and also courage. You know, right now, there is a radical opportunity for even the heads of the oil companies to show a lot of courage, to really turn things around, to really apologize for the harm that they've done and really engage in a process of reparations. And to some extent, we're the ambassadors of that message to them, but that message has to be based on our shared humanity and our relationship. And also we respect the young people who want to speak to speak their truth in whatever radical way they need to speak their truth. We also honor that in the spirit of nonviolence, but we honor the young people's way of speaking. So for us, we will also and continue to support the young people, including there was a moment of conflict last week that you may have seen online between the Shell CEO and the young activists, a verbal conflict. And we were able to be of, I hope, support and stability, and in particular for the young activists, and to keep the door of our heart open, even for those we think who are doing harm, and that's part of our precepts, is to do that. But I hope Brother Phap Huu can continue.
Thank you, sister. I feel she shared is very complete, but I just want to share to continue on the history, because our teacher Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, he was a monk during the Vietnam War, or in Vietnam they call it the American War. So there was a lot of violence and there was a lot of despair and destruction. And this question also came up: is how am I as a practitioner, what can I contribute to this conflict? Can I contribute to this war? Do I also leave my spiritual life and take on weapons and to fight for what I feel is right? But we were very lucky that our teacher kept his aspiration alive, and that he understood that as a monk, I also have a message, and that is to help people overcome this hatred and this discrimination, and that's why we were fighting each other. And there's this very famous poem that our teacher wrote. It's called "Please Call Me by My True Name." If you have a chance, you can look it up. But this poem, it talks about recognizing the injustice, the ignorance, the fear, and the discrimination, and you call it by its true name. And this is where a practitioner, we can meditate to. We don't see men as our enemy, but we see what we need to transform is the ignorance. We have to transform the wrong perceptions, the idea that we have right now. I think greed plays a very big part in these companies. That's why we continue to remove resources from our planet, and we can't see beyond, which is the future, the destruction that we are leaving behind for our future generation. So if we can be in touch and recognize the ignorance and the fear, then we will speak to the heart of that. We're not attacking the person. And that has helped me develop my compassion, to keep my openness, because that compassion will protect also my capacity of being present, to listen, to really be there. Because at the end of the day, we also saw this, the CEO, his human side. He was very challenged. He was sweating. He was also had to look inwards and see, what am I doing? Why is there so much hatred being shared towards me? And at that very moment, when for myself as a practitioner, I recognized that, and I saw, wow, how can we help him see interbeing? How can we help him be in touch with the future in the present moment? And that would change his view and change his mindset, his course of action. And that's also right livelihood. So I think for us also, as looking at the situation where it's also now is an intergeneration, looking deeply for all generation, either we are elders or we are middle-aged or we are young, we are social worker, we are monks and nuns, we are businessmen, we are teachers, we are professors, we are doctors, we are nurses. We all have a chance to contribute. And for me, everybody will play a role in this healing and in this beginning anew of bringing healing and falling in love again with Mother Earth, and is to really see where our views are, that is allowing ourselves to continue to behave in such a way. So meditation also asks all of us to reflect again, what is our concept of happiness? What is our concept of love for the earth? What is our concept of taking care of the earth and taking care of ourselves? Yeah, thank you so much.
And just a final word, we have two of our brothers will be going to COP26 next week to continue to offer, to support some of the key players in that conference with sessions of listening, presence, and walking meditation, breathing meditation. We're not experts in the climate aspect, but we can support everyone to be the best, show up as their best kind of human nature as possible to arrive, we hope, good negotiations and good conclusions.
Thank you for that inspiring answer to the question that equips us with inspiration to practice and see how it supports the transformational change that is needed at this time. We look forward to being with you in your sessions in the coming days, and wholeheartedly thank you for this inspirational opening talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And thank you everyone for joining us. We're so grateful that you've spent time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.